The 2023 season has just finished in Abu Dhabi, so you know what that means? It's time for the obligatory season wrap-up. Hi there and welcome back or welcome to my channel if this is your first time here. My name is Amy and I have a somewhat unhealthy obsession with Formula Uno. In today's video, it is time for our season wrap and our winners and losers. So let's just dive straight into it, shall we? With our first winner. We're going with McLaren. McLaren started the season in a pretty weak position. They were one of, if not the slowest car on the entire grid, but they really pulled it back. With all of the upgrades they brought, they are now one of the closest rivals to Red Bull, and have actually competed for podiums and wins this season. Lando getting a fair few, Oscar even running a sprint race. So yeah, that is a pretty big W, I would say, considering where they were at the start of the season. Oscar Piastri has settled in really well as that team, which is amazing to see as an Aussie, another driver doing so well like he is. And yeah, I think he's had the best rookie season, just like statistic wise, since Lewis Hamilton, so that says something at least. I mean, if anything, McLaren clearly knows how to handle their rookies. So amazing season for Oscar, and I can't wait to see how he progresses over the next few years and how he stacks up against Lando. Speaking of Lando, it is only a matter of time before that win comes around. I can feel it in my bones. Hopefully next season, McLaren can continue this momentum and he can get that win. We really need a change from Red Bull. On the flip side, our first loser, Aston Martin. Now, they've sort of had the opposite to McLaren. They started the season really strong, absolutely swinging out of the gates. Even Stroll was doing well. Fernando on the podium multiple times at the beginning of the year, only for the car development to slow down and completely drop off. They said they were bringing upgrades, but they seemed to be kind of downgrades, and then they weren't doing so well until the past couple of races. They did kind of bring it back there, and the fight between them and McLaren was interesting, but considering where they were at the start of the season, it's not been too great, has it? And Stroll, he truly hasn't impressed. He really does. He has had a few good moments, don't get me wrong, but looking at the season as a whole, compared to Fernando, not great. And if they was to fight for a championship, I don't think they would win the Constructors. I could see Fernando winning the Drivers, but I couldn't see them winning the Constructors. Maybe if they understood the car a bit better throughout the season and actually knew what they were putting on in terms of upgrades, they would have gone a bit better. But once they removed those upgrades, they did pretty well. So, yeah, I'd say it's a bit of an L from the beginning of the season to where they are now. The second W is for two drivers. They get to share it because it's quite similar for both of them. It's Daniel Ricciardo and Liam Lawson. You know, I've talked to death about both of them on this channel before, and it was great to see them both back. Well, Daniel back and Liam given a proper chance. I've been saying it for a while. Liam Lawson, he has the minerals, he has the sauce to do well in F1, and it was really good to be able to see him get an actual opportunity, not just in FP1, but to actually get out there and race a couple of times and qualify well and even score a point. So, absolute slay from Liam Lawson. Now, this also ties into Daniel Ricciardo and him being back in the sport. Obviously, Liam Lawson got his opportunity because Daniel Ricciardo was injured in the second week back, but yeah. Honestly, at the beginning of the year, I wasn't entirely sure how Daniel would get back into the sport in the foreseeable future. He obviously didn't want to go too far down the grid. There wasn't really any big teams that would have picked him up after his reputation was severely damaged in those McLaren seasons, but it's really good to see him back. It's good to see him smiling and back with the Red Bull family. And I feel like he's got his mojo back. Daniel Ricciardo's back, baby, and I'm excited. I'm excited for him next year. Maybe he'll return to the top team, who knows? Who knows how Checo is going to do next season. So yeah, from where they both were at the beginning of the year, major W's all around. But that ties into our first major L, and that is for Nick DeVries. Obviously the guy who lost his seat for Liam Lawson and Daniel Ricciardo to come in. It feels like so long ago that this actually happened, but to be replaced midway through the season, not the best look in the world. He was convincingly beaten by Yuki, I'm not gonna lie. Yuki wiped the floor with him, and if you consider how Liam Lawson and Daniel Ricciardo did when they came into the team, it kind of makes him look a bit worse. I know the car has definitely improved, AlphaTauri has gotten better as the season has gone on, but still, just that gap to Yuki was major for Nick de Vries, so probably the biggest L you can take is to lose your seat mid-season. Our third W goes to a team, Williams, and equally Alex Albon. Just Williams and Alex, that pairing, delectable. 7th in the Constructors, which is as well as they've gone for years and years. They're not coming last or second last anymore. Alex is doing an amazing job and has really stepped up into that team leader role, which is really great to see. He has convincingly outqualified Logan 22-0 this season. The first time that's happened since Max Verstappen did it to him a few years ago, so that is amazing to see. Logan obviously could definitely improve, but I think especially in the last 2 races, he has been a lot closer to Alex, especially in qualifying. He has that speed. He's just prone to mistakes, which, Yuki was a few seasons ago. So I don't know. As of right now, we don't know if Williams is going to give him that second chance for next season or not. Who knows? But yeah, that is still pretty exciting. I don't think he's a bad driver by any means. I just think there might be a few other drivers who would definitely step into that seat and do a bit better. Our third L goes to another team, say about Haas. 10th in the Constructors. Again, not a great look. They were a pretty exciting team when they first came to the sport, but over the last few seasons they have dropped off a lot. I personally expected a bit of improvement, with 2 really experienced, quite well qualified, pretty good drivers in Kevin Magnussen and Nico Hülkenberg. Hülkenberg in particular, I was excited to see back in the sport. But yeah, still even they couldn't extract proper good performance out of that car during the races. Sure, some weeks they would qualify well, K-Mag at, street tracks, and Nico Hülkenberg and a lot of other places, they were able to reach Q3. But the race pace just completely fell off. I don't know what they were doing. I thought it might have been the rookies in, Mick Schumacher and Mazepin that just couldn't extract anything out of the car, but with these 2 driving and they couldn't really do much, there's something just inherently flawed in that car that they need to either get on top of or, I don't know, figure something out in Haas. Okay, our first W that isn't for a team or a driver, it's actually for a track. Could be a bit controversial, but I'm going to go Las Vegas. Solid W for Las Vegas. I was skeptical. Literally my last video was me talking about how fucking skeptical I was of Las Vegas being on the calendar. It was actually a really good race. Sure. Thursday, Friday, whichever where we were watching in the world, FP1 and 2, yeah, not great, but if we ignore that, the race was actually decent. It was one of, if not the only race of the entire season where we got a proper scrap for the lead between Max and Charles, and that was really, really good to see. There was plenty of overtaking into most of the braking zones. I personally was, again, skeptical even about the layout of the track. I didn't think we'd see many. And you see Oscar Piastri, he was doing Daniel Ricciardo style dive bombs, and I was so proud of him. It was really good. There was plenty of overtaking, plenty of action, the cars were close together, what more could we ask for? Scrap for the lead, and Las Vegas, kind of iconic. And I know I'm singing the praises now when I wasn't 3 weeks ago, but I am now. It was a little bit cringy off track, but again, not as bad as Miami. So, we will take it. We will definitely take Las Vegas. I prefer it to Miami. I reckon we keep Vegas and Austin on the track for America and then go somewhere else during Miami. Again, I've been preaching Kyle Army. Go back to Africa. We need a race there. We do. This is a global sport, people. Our second last L goes to another team. Alfa Romeo. Most of the season, as Tomo would say, Alfa Romeo. Or mid. Absolutely mid. They were either nameless in the race or right at the back and not doing great. Again, they finished 9th, so they didn't finish last, but for such a historical name like Alfa Romeo, it's been around since the beginning of the sport, to not do well. And they're leaving next season. They're not ending on a high, they're ending on quite a low. That Sauber title sponsor is going to change. So yeah, not great for poor Alfa Romeo. Now, before we get into my final winner and final loser of the season, I want a few little shout outs that were either too mid to either be winning or losing, or I just didn't know where to put them because they're such an up and down season. Anyway, the first team that was just mid, doesn't excite me whatsoever, Alpine. And I've been seeing this discourse a lot. It's Alpine that just doesn't excite anyone. I don't know what they're doing. They're not like one of the top running teams, not one of the bottom running teams. They don't really have much going on off track. Don't get me wrong, I love Gasly. We all know I love Pierre Gasly. But there's just nothing that's really exciting about that team. There's something that makes me want to fully go in and support them. With Pat Fry leaving for Williams next year, which again, further down on the grid, but it's still something that he sees more promise in than that Alpine project, which sucks for them, which really does suck because I liked Renault. I did like Renault, especially when Danny was racing that. That excited me. Alpine, ever since they've changed the name, it hasn't. There's nothing that stands out to me. So, just mid. It's not like they had a bad season at all. Sure, they had a lot of reliability issues and the engine, not great. But they didn't have an awful season, so just mid. The next two I'm sort of going to talk about together, and that's Ferrari and Mercedes. The number 2 and number 3 of this season. They didn't really have many highlights, but again, it's not like they had a really bad season. The only real highlights that come out of those two teams was Carlos Sainz winning in Singapore, being the only non-Red Bull driver to win a race this season. Other than that, I can't remember any major highlights for these two. But again, no major lowlights either. So, yeah, hopefully they can bridge the gap a little bit to Red Bull. Do I still think that Red Bull's going to win next season? Yeah. But hopefully it's a bit closer. Hopefully more teams are winning. I would like to see somebody other than Max on the top of the podium, which is saying something. Speaking of Red Bull, it is time for our final L. Mr. Checo Perez, convincingly beaten by Max over the course of the season, won very few in comparison and almost lost second in the driver's standings to Lewis Hamilton. In a car that is so dominant, that should not happen. That should not even be in anyone's thoughts of happening. Particularly that middle part of the season was pretty rough. He didn't reach Q3 a lot of the time. He wasn't on the podium a lot of the time. And there were so many reasons about him either retiring or losing his seat or moving to another team because he just wasn't living up to that standard, to that really, really high standard that Red Bull have set, and they have set a high standard for the drivers, and as they should, being the top team on the grid. I expect that. So, to end the season with the biggest W of them all, it is Red Bull and Max Verstappen. What can I say? Absolutely dominant season, lads. We do love to see it here. As I've stated previously, Red Bull girlie till I die. And what a lovely record-breaking season for Max Verstappen. How cute that is, got that for my birthday. And really, you don't need me to sing the praises anymore. Everybody knows how incredible this has been. Truly making history out here and breaking so many records that have stood since Schumacher. And I do think he's gonna break a few more. I think he's breaking through more. I think he's gonna win again next season. And potentially the year after that, until everybody catches up or until the regulations change or something happens, because right now they're on a roll. And that makes Amy very happy. But yeah, hopefully we have a bit more of a fight next year. As much as you can clearly see, I love it. I do like a fight for the championship. I really do. I do think Max will still dominate next season, but I want that fight. Somebody please step up, make it a bit more interesting. At least somebody win 2 races. That's all I ask, just 2 or 3, maybe. I don't know, 2 or 3 drivers outside of Red Bull to win a race next season. Doesn't seem that wild in theory, but apparently it is. So, I don't know, dude. But yeah, biggest W of the entire season, Red Bull and Max. They are just so in sync. So in sync, it's insane. I am gonna go get changed out of this jacket though, because it is very hot right now. So, that was my little season review, my wins and losses. I was gonna do it a bit more in depth and do an actual list of 20th to 1st for the drivers. but some of them are pretty hard to split, honestly. Some drivers had just incredible seasons and I couldn't really split them. And on the opposite end, some drivers just had awful seasons and I couldn't split them. So I figured a little winners and losers situation was the way to go. And yeah, that brings this video to a wrap. Let me know your biggest winner and biggest loser of the season in the comments down below. And if you liked the video, then like it and press that red button to subscribe for more F1 and motorsport related content. And I'll see you all in the next one. Laters!